Welcome to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Nicholson, crime scene investigator turned functional health investigator. This podcast is here to share bite-sized episodes and unique interviews on a wide variety of health topics to empower, enlighten, and educate you to live your best, most vibrant life. Disclaimer: all information you hear on this podcast is for information only and constitutes individual opinions of the person speaking. This should not be taken as medical advice. Being a listener of this show does not initiate a practitioner-client relationship between you and the hosts or panelists on this show. Please discuss these topics with your medical professionals before making any changes to your health. Okay, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Holistic Health Bites podcast. Today, we are talking about when the ketogenic diet doesn't work. Now, the ketogenic diet has so many reputations, everything from being the miracle cure-all to being an unhealthy fad diet and everything in between. And both ends of this spectrum can be true, but it's not really that simple. So let's define first what a ketogenic diet is when done correctly and who may benefit from it. The ketogenic diet is one that is a very low carbohydrate, moderate protein, and higher in fat nutrition plan. There are many applications of this metabolic nutrition therapy, and each has its own kind of relevant macronutrient ratio. The classic ketogenic diet was about 3 to 4 grams of fat for every gram of carb and protein. This classic diet was really only ever intended to be used in children with epilepsy and with other serious metabolic dysfunctions. The modified ketogenic diet is used more often for other metabolic disorders as well as adults and other stages in life. So this would be for things like insulin resistance, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, some mental health conditions, and even for weight loss. Typically, this involves keeping carbohydrates under 50 grams, often under 20 grams, with 20 to 35% of calories coming from protein and 60 to 75% of calories coming from fat. This is also a lever that can be adjusted based on flavor of your food and how satiating your food is so that you can stay full between meals and not need so many snacks. Of course, individual adjustments can then occur within these parameters to help each individual person achieve their goals and feel their best. Some do well with higher protein, some do better with the lower end of the protein scale and having more fat. Some actually do better with 0 carbohydrates, and some do better with higher amounts of non-starchy carbohydrates. This is where individuality has to play in. Now, the reason keto gets labeled as a fad is in the application. A true ketogenic diet does not involve keto snacks, treats, shakes, cookies, breads, and other packaged foods. It involves quality proteins, healthy fats and oils, and non-starchy vegetables. A true ketogenic diet isn't done for short-term quick wins like crash diets are. They're done for metabolic health benefits. A true, well-formulated ketogenic diet is the only diet that has a solid marker to ensure that it's working. And that's because you can test for ketones. If you're producing ketones, you know you're in a ketogenic state. Ketones are a byproduct of fat breakdown and can be used by nearly every cell in the body for energy. They aren't dangerous. They are preferred by several tissues like your brain and your heart. The presence of ketones proves the metabolic adaptations are occurring unless you're consuming exogenous ketones. Exogenous ketones can be beneficial, but simply drinking them is not helping your body use your body fat for fuel. Still provides benefits to brain and the other tissues that love ketones, but not necessarily the best for weight loss. So why would a ketogenic diet not work? First, how are you determining that it's not working? Are you not getting into ketosis? Are you not seeing the expected weight loss? Are you experiencing symptoms or other issues that weren't present before starting this nutrition plan? Each of these are going to have different remedies. We have to understand why it's not working and what does that mean to you. So if you're not getting into ketosis, Are you truly sticking to a very low carb plan? Are you over consuming total food? If you over consume calories, it will kick you out of ketosis because extra calories will stimulate an insulin release. And when insulin is up, ketones are down. Have you given the plan an adequate amount of time for your body to adjust? This is not the kind of thing that you just start and you're magically in ketosis on day one. If you've been a type 2 diabetic for 20 years, you likely won't get into ketosis for several days, maybe even several weeks. It can take time for your body to adapt. You may also need to adjust your protein and healthy fat intake. I would make sure that you're testing appropriately. Urinary ketones are not nearly as accurate and may actually make you believe that you're not in ketosis when you actually are. So I would recommend a blood meter to know for sure. Would also be tracking your glucose because if your glucose is elevated, that's a different problem to be solving and will also keep you out of ketosis. Now, if you aren't seeing the expected weight loss, despite the fact that you are in ketosis, again, I would look at your overall intake and your macronutrient ratio. If you are truly eating an appropriate ketogenic diet filled with quality foods, try adjusting your macro ratios, more or less protein. Do the opposite with fat. So if you're dialing up the protein, dial down the fat. If you're dialing up the fat, dial down the protein just a little bit, or try adjusting the carbs a little. If you're under 50, you might want to go up or down a little bit. You might look at different kinds of foods that you're consuming. Plant-based is going to be very different than animal-based. So you have to look at the individual food choices as well. And then lastly, you might also look at your body composition. You may not be losing weight, but still losing fat. So that is what you're really after. The scale can be very tricky and very deceiving, might make you believe you're not actually getting results when you really are. If you're still stuck, there's likely something else going on. After years of yo-yo dieting or chronic undereating, you could have toxin exposures or underlying infections. There could be other health conditions that are interfering. So this is where a solid investigation can really help you uncover your particular sticking point. Now, if you're experiencing some new symptoms or new issues since adding the ketogenic diet, such as constipation, diarrhea, headaches, swelling, skin changes, low energy, muscle cramps, or sleep disturbances, there's definitely something else contributing to the problem. Constipation could indicate that you're not getting enough fat intake or you have a digestive dysfunction. Diarrhea could indicate that you have too much fat in one sitting. You could have a liver or gallbladder dysfunction or other gut imbalances. Headaches could be due to mineral imbalances, dehydration, or just withdrawal from sugar. Swelling could be a sign of a gut imbalance or a mineral deficiency, where you're retaining extra water. Can also be from food sensitivities or underlying infections. Skin changes could be gut infections or gut imbalances, underlying infections throughout the body. You could be having a detox reaction from coming off of poor food choices in your past. Could be nutrient deficiencies. Low energy can come from detox reactions, under eating total food, certain nutrient deficiencies, mineral imbalances, or even blood sugar crashes that indicate that you have insulin resistance. Muscle cramps are most often due to mineral imbalances, especially with magnesium. Sleep disturbances can be blood sugar imbalances, detox reactions, underlying infections, or the initial loss of water when you're cutting carbs, which could be causing more bathroom trips and therefore waking you up. It's so vital to do a deep dive into your particular issues and remedy those rather than just simply saying keto doesn't work. Look very closely at every single label of food you're eating. Artificial sweeteners, natural sugar alternatives, preservatives, and other additives could be causing elevations in blood sugar or insulin, which will alter your body's ability to make ketones. I hope this information was valuable. If you'd like to do a deep dive, schedule a free call with me and let's discuss your particular situation. I'll leave a link in the show notes. Until the next, be well and vibrant. Thanks for being a faithful listener to the podcast. I'd love it if you left me a 5-star review on this podcast so that others can more easily find this valuable information. Did you know I also work one-on-one with clients? I approach solving health challenges like I approached solving crimes, by conducting a thorough investigation into your case. Sadly, hundreds of millions of people in the US have insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes, and the vast majority have no idea. I'm here to fix that. If you struggle with low energy, stubborn weight, hypertension, sleep disturbances, or any other undesired symptoms, let's talk. All you have to do is schedule a free call. The link will be in the show notes. And no, you do not need to live near me.